Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Long renowned for her steadfast devotion to her kids, Brooke Logan finally lost it with Forrester. Tension had increased between them as Ridge's constant criticism of Hope became unmanageable. Carter Walton's startling decision to bring back Hope's Hope for the Future line added to the tension at Forrester Creations, turning it into a battlefield where family loyalties and allegiances were put to the test. The sacred space of their shared workplace, which was once emblematic of their collaboration but is now marred by acrimonious disputes, was the setting for Brooke and Ridge's confrontation. Ridge's most recent outburst about Hope reverberated in Brooke's ears, burning her eyes with outrage. He portrayed Hope as a cunning manipulator who was in charge of Carter's contentious choices, and his charges were severe, almost cruel. Brooke was fed up. Standing erect, she scolded Ridge with a rage that had been building for weeks, her voice piercing the tension like a sword. "You have no right to talk about Hope in that manner," with her voice shaking with anger, Brooke yelled. "Ridge is your stepdaughter. You should encourage her rather than undermine her. Whatever became of the man I married, the man who put family first?" Ridge tried to defend himself after being taken aback by Brooke's intensity. "Brooke, you have no idea what's involved. Hope has sided with Carter, and the two of them have upset the equilibrium at Forrester Creations. This is for the company's protection, not for personal gain." Brooke, however, was not amused. "Is it not personal? You've taken it personally from the beginning, Ridge. Despite all of Hope's positive contributions, you have used her as a scapegoat for every issue at Forrester. You took away her vision and passion project, HFTF, as if it had no significance. And you're pointing the finger at Hope now that Carter has the guts to restore it? For the mess this company is in, where is your responsibility?" Ridge's expression tightened, but he said nothing since he knew that a retort would make things worse. Brooke took advantage of the opportunity to emphasize her point. "Ridge, you've put Hope in an impossible situation," she added, her voice lower now but no less urgent. "She has been struggling to establish herself in a society that continuously contrasts her with Steffi. And you've joined forces with people that undermine her rather than providing the father figure she needs. It's not acceptable." Carter Walton, meantime, was creating a stir at Forrester Creations with his surprising decision to bring Hope for the Future back. Many were surprised by his action, particularly Steffi and Ridge, who saw it as a show of defiance. But Carter was determined. He thought HFTF was valuable and had potential for Hope as a designer and visionary, in addition to the firm. Carter explained his thinking in a contentious meeting with the management team at Forrester. "Hope for the Future embodies the values of this organization: creativity, sustainability, and foresight. Our portfolio is lacking it, and I won't allow small-scale rivalries to determine its future. Hope and the brand both deserve this opportunity." Clearly upset, Steffi lashed back. "This goes beyond the brand, Carter. It has to do with trust. This choice, which you made behind our backs, jeopardizes all we've been working to restore following the recent catastrophe." With resolute determination, Carter returned her look. "Favoritism and ongoing infighting are what weaken this business. For reasons unrelated to her job, Hope has been demonized. It's time to put things behind us and concentrate on Forrester Creations' best interests." Hope was in the middle of a maelstrom as word of Carter's choice spread. Although she appreciated Carter's help, she was aware of the strong criticism that would follow. She shared her disappointments and anxieties with her mother. "I'm not sure if I can handle this, Mom. I feel like I'm always the bad guy in their eyes, regardless of what I do." Being the protective mother that she is, Brooke reassured her daughter that she is not alone. "I hope you underestimate your strength. Keep your light shining brightly despite their negativity. Carter sees that you have a gift. For now, let that be sufficient." At home, Ridge and Brooke got into a heated disagreement. Still in shock over Carter's move, Ridge snapped in annoyance. "You're oblivious to Hope's shortcomings, Brooke, yet you believe I'm the villain here. She is not as naive as you portray her to be." Brooke's gaze grew strained. Additionally, Ridge, you're not as flawless as you believe yourself to be. Even though you've made a lot of blunders, I've always supported you. Why are you unable to give Hope the same grace? Whether you like it or not, she is your family. They retreated to their corners, refusing to compromise, and their debate ended in a tense silence. There was a noticeable gulf between them, and it was obvious that this had to do with their basic divergent perspectives on loyalty and family, not only Hope or Carter. The consequences of Carter's choice continued to reverberate throughout Forrester Creations in the days that followed. Determined to take back control, Ridge and Steffi planned their next course of action. But with Brooke and Hope's silent backing, Carter stayed unwavering. Encouraged by Carter's belief in her, Hope immersed herself into bringing HFTF back to life. She put her heart and energy into each design, working non-stop to demonstrate that the brand was valuable. Even some of her most critical critics were unable to ignore her skill as her perseverance started to win over doubters. Meanwhile, Brooke persisted in standing up for her daughter, confronting Ridge and Steffi whenever necessary. Her steadfast support for Hope demonstrated her faith in the value of sticking up for what's right and the strength of family. It became evident as tensions escalated that the fight for Forrester Creations was about more than simply business. It was also about relationships, morals, and the history of a family that had endured many hardships. And through it all, Carter's fearless leadership and Brooke's tenacious defense of Hope were rays of hope and resiliency. The real strength of Forrester Creations was not in power disputes, but rather in finding common ground and overcoming them, whether Ridge and Steffi could see it or not. This story blends drama with resolve while delving deeply into each character's point of view as it examines the emotional, professional, and familial issues involved. Hope's worst nightmare is Steffi, and Elektra crushes Remy's hope. According to Wednesday, December 11th spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Ridge Forrester persisted in accusing Hope Logan of pressuring Carter Walton to pursue this devious takeover strategy. Ridge maintained that Carter would eventually despise Hope in the same manner that everyone else did. Brooke Logan was clearly not pleased with Ridge's manner of speaking to her daughter when he declared that he would not allow Hope to get away with this. Ridge stated that Carter had lost everything and would regret this even if he predicted that the Forresters would regain control of the corporation. When Ridge eventually told Brooke it was time to go home, he made his way out. Will Spencer, Elektra Forrester, and Zend Forrester Dominguez all expressed curiosity about the situation in the CEO's office while they were in the salon. Elektra found it difficult to comprehend the discussion regarding Steffi Forrester's problems with Hope and the cancellation of Hope for the future. At Il Giardino, Remy Price asked Deacon Sharp if Katie Logan was Will Spencer's mother, pointing out that Hope was his daughter. Remy merely wanted to learn more about the individuals in Elektra's life, but Deacon seems perplexed by all the inquiries. Deacon felt that Elektra was the reason he wanted to stay in Los Angeles after Remy acknowledged that she was unique. Back at Forrester Creations, Steffi scolded Hope for giving Carter ideas and believed that she shouldn't even be there because she had been fired. Since he was now in charge, Carter suggested that it was his call. Steffi stated there was no turning back after calling Hope out for being a cunning manipulator and using Carter as a target for retaliation. Steffi cautioned that Hope had just made her enemy into her greatest nightmare and that she would eventually wish she had simply left the building and continued on. Carter and Hope had a moment to reflect on how difficult today had been, but they were determined to act morally for Forrester Creations after Steffi stormed out. Hope was overjoyed when Carter made her and her line his first priority again, and she gave him a kiss. On Wednesday's B&B show, Brooke, Ridge, and Eric Forrester all talked about the takeover situation at the Forrester mansion. Ridge responded that he would speak to anyone who stole the company in that manner after Brooke protested to the way he spoke to Hope. Ridge restated that Hope was the reason behind Carter's actions. Ridge wasn't in the mood to settle down, but Brooke thought he needed to learn to control his emotions. Ridge was understandably frustrated, but Brooke cautioned him against attacking her daughter and blaming Hope. Remy returned to the salon with a surprise pizza and declared his desire to see Elektra at work at Forrester Creations. But in the end, Remy reminded Elektra that seeing New York had always been their ambition and advised them to abandon the LA they were living in. Remy argued that they were more than just friends, but Elektra was determined to stick with her new goal at Forrester. Remy became devastated when Elektra refused to back down and insisted that it wasn't like that. In the end, Will returned downstairs and inquired as to Remy's purpose. According to previews for The Bold and the Beautiful, Remy will react strongly to being friend-zoned, so we'll keep you informed about all the terrible news that lies ahead. Forrester Creations' hallways hummed with a tension that had been building for weeks. Steffi Forrester, the strong co-CEO, was at the core of the chaos, dealing with an unexpected development that even she could not have foreseen. Steffi's choice to resign from her leadership role was a daring and surprising one, tinged with long-standing animosity and hints of Eric Forrester's influence. The family's patriarch and a living icon in the fashion industry, Eric Forrester, had long been a source of stability and wisdom. However, beneath his aristocratic exterior, Eric had occasionally felt marginalized and belittled, especially in the last several years as the younger generation assumed leadership. Steffi had frequently led this change with her unflinching self-assurance and commanding presence. Her increasingly aggressive techniques, particularly toward Logan family members, had left Eric with a bitter taste, even if he had supported her ascent. Hope Logan in particular was frequently harmed by Steffi's unrelenting pursuit of her vision for Forrester Creations. Eric had noticed her frequent arguments with Hope over family and business, as well as her anti-Logan attitude. In addition to being calculated, Eric thought that Steffi's actions were personal, spiteful, and at odds with the family-centered culture he had spent so much time fostering. The latest disruptions at Forrester Creations appeared to be the tipping point. The business had devolved into a battleground of egos and power struggles as a result of Carter Walton's contentious choices and the reinstatement of hope for the future. In an attempt to restore control, Steffi had intensified her efforts to undermine Hope and Carter, setting a boundary that alienated both her allies and her adversaries. Eric observed everything behind the scenes. Even though he appeared to be indifferent, those closest to him observed minor shifts in his behavior. He appeared more introspective and reclusive, as if he were secretly planning his next move. Then the shocking news hit: Steffi was asked to resign. Everyone was taken aback by the choice. Forrester Creations had always viewed Steffi as a cornerstone, but now she was on the outside looking in. Although the official justification stated that a new leadership style was needed, there were speculations that Eric was instrumental in planning her dismissal. Some even conjectured that Eric was using this as a covert form of retaliation for years of feeling ignored and undervalued. For her part, Steffi was furious. There was no time for polite conversation as she squared up to Eric. "Granddad, how could you have allowed this to occur? You allowed them to push me out after all I've done for this family and this company?" Ever the calm elder statesman, Eric answered in measured terms. "This isn't about you being kicked out, Steffi. It concerns the course that this business must take." Instead of division and animosity, Forrester Creations has always been about creativity and teamwork. We forgot about that sometime in the process. Steffi squinted her eyes. "Do you believe that I have caused division? I have done everything in my power to safeguard the legacy of this business and our family." Eric let out a sigh, his face displaying a mixture of resolution and despair. "Even while you may have had noble intentions, Steffi, your actions have caused more strife than peace. We need a change now." Eric gave himself a rare moment of reflection as Steffi stormed out. Was he feeling vindictive? Maybe, but it was more complicated than that. Eric's choice was motivated by a strong desire to bring honesty and balance back to the business he loved, not by resentment. Nevertheless, it was unquestionably satisfying to watch Steffi, who had so frequently disregarded his counsel and his viewpoint, deal with the fallout from her decisions. Forrester Creations was rocked by the fallout from Steffi's departure. Some workers sympathized with her, while others saw it as a chance to improve and escape the toxic dynamics that had afflicted the business. Now confident in his leadership position, Carter Walton started making adjustments that prioritized diversity and teamwork, receiving cautious approval from Eric. Meanwhile, Hope Logan had conflicting feelings about Steffi's departure. It gave her a break from Steffi's persistent hostility, but it also highlighted how brittle familial ties are and how important their shared professional life is. One thing became evident as the dust settled: Eric's influence, while modest, continued to be a potent force at Forrester Creations. the company's leadership had changed as a result of his efforts, and a new chapter had begun, one that he hoped would respect the Forrester name's heritage while opening the door to a better future. The adventure was far from ended for Steffi. She started to consider her part in the circumstances that had brought about her demise as she struggled with the pain of betrayal and losing her job. It was unclear if she would turn around or redouble her efforts. And it was a bittersweet moment for Eric. He had stood up for what he thought was right, but it had come at a heavy emotional cost. He couldn't help but wonder as he gazed over the Forrester Creations headquarters whether his acts would result in the peace and prosperity he so desperately desired or if they would merely plant the seeds for more strife. Seismic changes are nothing new to the dynamics at Forrester Creations and within the Forrester family, but Remy's most recent action established a new standard for mayhem. Her audacious, and possibly careless, decision rocked the family and threatened to destroy enduring bonds and coalitions. Concurrently, Brooke Logan battled to mend her broken relationship with Ridge in the face of growing tensions, only to be devastated by rejection. For weeks, Remy had been negotiating perilous seas as a character whose actions frequently teetered on the brink of daring and recklessness. She was directly at odds with Ridge and Steffi, among other important individuals, since she wanted to gain a more prominent position at Forrester Creations. Remy's decision to take matters into her own hands, driven by irritation and a desire to leave her mark, would come to define her career at Forrester Creations. The decisive factor was her choice to support Carter Walton. Remy proved to be an unexpected ally for Carter, who was entangled in his own issue after his power maneuvers and relationship with Hope Logan. Together, they came up with a plan to upend Forrester Creations' established order. Remy played a crucial position that required her to use connections and insider information to her advantage. However, there were repercussions to this decision. Ridge and Steffi were offended by Remy's support for Carter because they believed it betrayed the values of the Forrester family. Ridge, in particular, was furious because he believed Remy's action set a risky precedent that might cause the business to collapse. Brooke, Logan and Ridge found themselves at a crossroads as the consequences of Remy's actions became apparent. As Ridge's concerns with Hope permeated his interactions with Brooke, their already tense relationship, which had been damaged by a string of miscommunications and arguments, reached a new low. Ridge's rage was too overwhelming to control, even as Brooke tried to mediate and settle things down. Brooke made an effort to reason with Ridge, pleading with him to keep his personal problems apart from his work-related annoyances. "Ridge, you must not allow this to ruin us. We must find a way to move past whatever Hope and Carter are doing, whatever is going on at Forrester Creations." But Ridge brushed off her entreaties, tired and resentful. "Brooke, it's not just about the business. It has to do with family, loyalty, and trust. And I don't see any of it from your end at the moment." Stunned by what he said, Brooke struggled to contain her tears. Even though she and Ridge had been through a lot together over the years, this felt more definitive. Ridge stuck to his position despite her best attempts to close the growing distance between them, forcing Brooke to consider the prospect that their relationship might not work out. The whole Forrester family was impacted by Remy's association with Carter and Brooke's inability to patch up her connection with Ridge. Enraged by what she saw as betrayal, Steffi engaged Remy in a heated altercation that left no room for forgiveness. "You believe you will gain power by siding with Carter? You've only demonstrated that you don't belong here." Unfazed, Remy retaliated. "I've earned my spot here, and I'm not leaving. Perhaps it's time for someone else to step down." Unable to control his annoyance, Ridge turned to Carter in the interim and demanded accountability and answers. However, Carter resisted giving up, bolstered by his partnership with Remy and his increasing power at Forrester Creations. "Ridge, you don't get to make all the decisions. Perhaps it's time you changed with the times." Eric Forrester stood still in the middle of the mayhem, his face a mix of resolve and despair. He understood Ridge's frustrations, but he also saw that the company needed to reform. Eric's silent reflections suggested potential future actions that would once more alter the balance of power within Forrester Creations. After everything was said and done, it was evident that Remy's decision had permanently altered the Forrester Creations environment. It was unclear if her risk would succeed or fail, but one thing was for sure, the Forrester family and their business would never be the same. The road ahead seems just as uncertain to Brooke. She had to decide whether to mend their broken relationship or accept its demise because Ridge didn't seem to want to get over his rage. Ridge was also committed to bringing order back to Forrester Creations, even if it meant making costly sacrifices in his personal life. Ultimately, the issue remained, would Remy's risky decision turn out to be a sign of progress or devastation? And was this the end of Brooke and Ridge's legendary romance, or could they find a way to get back together? As the Forrester saga developed further, only time would tell. Formerly the dependable and steady legal counsel at Forrester Creations, Carter Walton is now at the center of a storm that is endangering his personal and professional lives. Carter was formerly respected for his honesty and commitment, but his recent decisions have damaged his reputation, making both Forresters and fans wonder if he will be able to handle the impact. The stakes are great, and it's unclear if this marks the end of Carter Walton as we know him or the start of an exciting new chapter. Carter has served as Forrester Creations' moral compass for many years, frequently intervening as a sane voice in the face of business conflicts and familial disputes. Ridge, Eric, and the rest of the Forrester family respected him for his commitment to his job. But that reputation has been damaged by recent events. Carter has been portrayed as a man who is prepared to compromise his morals in the name of ambition and love due to his romantic involvement with Hope Logan and claims of a clandestine power grab. Ridge has been outspoken in his criticism of Carter, enraged by what he sees as a betrayal. During a heated argument, Ridge remarked, "You've changed from someone I could trust to someone I can't even look at." Carter, who once took pride in his devotion to the Forrester family, has fallen from grace dramatically as a result of this change in view. Carter's development into a divisive figure begs the question of how his character will develop narratively. Is this an intentional attempt to give Carter's personality more depth and nuance, or is it a mistake that could turn off viewers? His current activities are viewed by some fans as an interesting change from his often expected role. Carter's decision to align with Hope and challenge the existing quo at Forrester Creations may mark the beginning of a bolder, new chapter in his career. Others, however, contend that these changes undermine the core of his personality and turn him into a prop in a plot that is meant to shock rather than to move. Hope and Carter's relationship has been a source of debate. Their relationship has sparked interest, but it has also angered those who believe it betrays his moral superiority. Hope and Carter have a partnership that is both captivating and damaging as a result of Hope's issues with her own identity and goals. Important figures at Forrester Creations, especially Steffi and Ridge, have become estranged from their partnership because they see it as a danger to the family's heritage. Carter's position becomes more vulnerable as a result of this division. His future will surely be defined by his decision to either try to mend the bridges he has burnt or to reaffirm his dedication to Hope. The family patriarch, Eric Forrester, has been largely silent during Carter's decline into scandal. But his silence says more than words can. Eric, who is renowned for his tolerance and wisdom, may ultimately decide whether Carter is allowed a second shot at atonement or permanently expelled from the Forrester family. Family and heritage have always been central to Eric's viewpoint, and Carter's recent behavior calls into question both. Carter's employment at Forrester Creations may come to an end if Eric determines that Carter's actions are beyond redemption. On the other side, a redemption narrative that restores Carter's integrity might be possible if Eric offers forgiveness. Carter's future is still up in the air, and there are many opportunities as well as risks along the possible routes. For viewers who have become invested in his character, a redemption arc may provide a satisfying conclusion that would enable him to repair damaged relationships and restore his reputation. But pursuing this course of moral ambiguity can drive Carter further away from supporters and make him unredeemable in the end. Carter's destiny will be decided in large part during the next few weeks. Will he be able to get past the incident and resume his position as a reliable team member at Forrester? Or will his adventure come to an end when he succumbs to ambition and treachery? There is no doubt that Carter Walton is at a turning point in his life, and the choices he makes now will influence not only the legacy of his character but also the structure of Forrester Creations as a whole. In the hopes of a resolution that respects the intricacy of his journey while remaining faithful to his character, fans can only wait and watch as this once stable figure navigates the storm.